Hey guys, Tim here. Hope you enjoyed this episode with Alex Jacques. He came on, as a favor to James, but also to promote his book, Grid to Glory. We just forgot. We didn't ask him about it. He didn't bring it up. That's our bad. So, telling you right now, you should go buy his book, Grid to Glory. It's on Amazon. It's fantastic. Anyways, enjoy the show.
This is Off Track.
We'll say this officially on air. This is a very loose format, as you could probably tell by the fact our producer is in a robe while we're on air and drinking wine, evidently. That's, God.
I wish I was drinking wine.
You and me both.
Yeah.
We're in vastly different time zones.
We are.
We're about as far as you can get before you start going back the other way.
We are, in fact, yes. Yeah. We are 12 hours apart. Yes, it is Off Track with Hinch or Rossi today. It's Off Track with James and Alex, if that helps. But in lieu of Alex Rossi being present, Alex Jacques of F1 TV fame joins us on the show. What's happening, pal?
Thank you very much for having me. We've finally managed to do this after you tried to recruit me after Austin. And I was like, I'm on a plane home.
which was like, and I also just don't want to do it. So, and I get it. I get that. It's totally fine. Totally fair. I always wonder, because you are a new father. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is the one part of the conversation that Tim will be able to inject any experience in. So I figure we'll get it out of the way early, so that way we don't have to hear from him anymore. But
smart.
I always wonder, when you have a young child, I talk to a lot of people in the business, in racing that have kids, and they can't wait to go to a race because it's just like an opportunity to sleep and catch up on sleep. Not to say that you're excited to be away from your family, but have you been able to get a little bit more sleep now that you've been on the road for a little bit?
Thank you for this hospital pass of a question to open the show. That is glorious. Let's try and answer this and still have a marriage by the end of it. Sleep is incredibly important, and I value it even more highly than I did at the start of the year. Yeah, look, Exhibit A, Exhibit B. I've got massive bags under my eyes. It has been the most ridiculous year of trying to be helpful when I'm at home and still be, something other than a zombie on air. To be honest, I wouldn't change a thing. But yeah, it is helpful to have a job where you can get more than 4 hours sleep in a row. And that has been helpful. But then, of course, you go through the door and you're immediately handed your child. And you're like, I was quite looking forward to a nap. Yeah. And yet my wife has been dealing with my crying daughter for the last 5 days. So no such luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes a mad job more mad. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Fresh off the red eye and then just getting handed the kid. You're like, oh, right. That's how that works now. Yeah.
It gets easier. I'm told. It hasn't yet for me. And I'm almost 12 years in. But I'm told they move out eventually.
Yeah, I'm thinking just, 10 or 12 more years, pal. You'll be good to go.
Yeah.
You'll be good to go.
Cool. 11 and a half years to go.
Yeah,
great.
yeah. You'll be great.
Cheers.
No, sorry. I was saying 12 more years to Tim. You got a couple decades, pal. Yeah. I didn't want to undersell that one to you. I want to make sure this is realistic. Okay, so for anybody that doesn't know, first of all, you're watching Formula One incorrectly. But Alex obviously is the voice, the lead commentator of Formula One on F1 TV. So if you have been watching just in any other way, stop doing that and subscribe to F1 TV and listen to that. But Alex, how long have you actually worked in Formula One in any capacity?
So I've been attending Grand Prix for 11 seasons now. I started off as the commentator for what is now Formula 2 and Formula 3, but what is then GP2 and GP3. Our old friend Will Buxton used to do that job, gave it up, and I was the beneficiary of Mr. Buxton deciding to focus on Formula 1 broadcasting, started with the junior championships, and then a combination of ways, like 2018, Formula 1 were like, we want to develop our own channel. So we're going to do this sort of side project called the Pit Lane Channel that got bigger in 2019 and 2020. And then I moved to, in the UK, Channel 4 network in 2021 for a nice calm season, which created no controversy at all. And then I was there in 2022 as well. And then there was a sort of commentary box merge is potentially the easiest way to put it. And our commentary on F1 TV also goes out on Channel 4. I do a slightly different version for Channel 4. And we do little bits at the start and the end. But yeah, it's been 11 seasons of attending Grand Prix weekends, and I've been doing F1 since 2018. So yeah, not bad. Not bad. And a pretty good job of avoiding a proper job.
What do you change up when you're doing it slightly different for one or the other?
So I will do an intro. I will script an intro just like I would for the start of F1 TV, and I'll deliver that literally 3 minutes before we go on air. So Channel 4 has a different intro. It has a different results read. It has a different, I'll pick up to the presenter. And that was all off the back of, that was my distinct, like, I want to keep that. I want to keep the link. I don't want it to feel like I'm really against anyone getting like a secondhand product. I don't like that. I think that's, absolutely insane in 2025 to give someone else's broadcast. If you consider that you've got a tailored feed that you're desk scrolling through, the idea of someone listening to another channel on a channel doesn't really work. So yeah, different intros, different outros, and so Channel 4 feels like Channel 4, and F1 TV is just all live. So you get the reaction.
Do you ever do one for Channel 4 and you feel like you kind of mess up, but you're like, it's all right, I'll fix it for the F1 TV, or vice versa? Or you're like, I get another shot at this, let's go.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. The problem is, because I do it in advance, and Channel 4 is a feature-length highlights program that runs 3 hours afterwards in the UK, I will sometimes just happen upon what happens. So I will just go, hey, it's Lando Norris versus Max Verstappen down to turn 1, and anything could happen. And if they hit each other or make contact, or it's a really controversial moment, it sounds like I've done it afterwards, but I just haven't. It's just a pure fluke. So sometimes it sounds like you've gone all like, oh, there used to be a thing in the UK where they used to record the football commentary on the highlights afterwards, and you would get some commentators try to go all like Mystic Meg and be like, can he beat 5 players to score? He's passed one, knowing full well that he's just scored this wonder goal that's gone past 5 players. So you try not to do that. You try to do it all as live in sequence.
Well, that's because you're a professional and have integrity. I have to admit, there was a time when I was asked to do some commentary for what was then called like the Star Mazda Championship. It's one of the rungs on the road to Indy ladder, and they had a TV deal, but it was all recorded in post, right? So it was maybe, if there was 10 races in the championship, I probably flew out to a studio 3 times, and we would do 3 or 4 races in one go. Races that had already happened. That, look, I wasn't religiously following Star Mazda at the time, but I maybe had heard or been at the track and noticed who won. And I'm going to be totally upfront here, Alex. There was more than one occasion where I called a shot that I knew 100% was happening, just for the sake of sounding like I knew what I was talking about. So you are a bigger and better man.
I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, I know, Dad. I know. I get that. I get that a lot. And it is tough. It is tough. Hearing Alex say that, because I have so much respect for this man in the TV world, and he's just like, well, what you never want to do is exactly what you did, you piece of
Your behavior was a disgrace then, it's a disgrace now, and I'm judging you, mate.
Totally
he
fair.
Said it. There was so much gravitas in the way that he said it.
Everything he says just has this incredible weight behind it. I just love it.
Yeah, it's like, man, you really did let a lot of people down.
Yeah, I know. A whole 14 family members of the drivers that watched that broadcast were very upset. But it's funny. We were having a conversation at dinner the other night, because this is where we go post work in Qatar. We got into death and eulogies. I won't go completely into the context, but 100% I want Alex to give my eulogy like that. Or at least I want some tribute. If there's going to be a video montage tribute, it's got to be voiced over by AJ. It's got to be.
I'm not coming to your funeral. I was there when you died the first time. I'm not going to be there for the second.
Rude. Rude. Yeah, Alex.
Jokes only close mates can make. Yeah, jokes only close mates can make.
Weird. A lot of people say that to me. Is that not normal? I don't know. We're not coming to your funeral.
I tell you what's not normal. That conversation that we were having over dinner wasn't normal.
No.
But that's the risk of going to dinner with Jolyon Palmer, isn't it? Like, that's what happens.
He is full of great conversation starters, I got to say. Or he's full of conversation starters, varying degrees of greatness. But
yeah, hey. What worries me about that is that he's constantly carrying them around in his head, though. Yeah. Like, it's not inspiration. He's got like too many ready to go. He's like, would you like to hear your own eulogy?
Right. Again, it comes off the back of a great episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. But regardless, Alex, did you grow up a race fan? Were you a motorsports guy? Were you an F1 guy?
Yeah, I loved it from when I was 9 years old, and just as soon as I found it, and I found it by accident, scanning through the channels on a Sunday afternoon. It's a Belgian Grand Prix in 1998. Oh, wow. It had the big crash.
Yeah.
It's obviously one of the all-time great Grand Prix, so it's a good one to start on. But no, I basically saw it, found it, loved it, was obsessive about it, always wanted to work in it. It was aware very, very early on that I didn't have the talent, having been to my local go-kart track. So I was like, right, I'm going to have to talk about it or write about it. And I'm better at talking about it than writing about it. So here we are.
So it wasn't like a family thing. Dad wasn't into it. He didn't take you to your first race. You just found it on your own.
No, he likes all sport. And I think he'd cheer for the British drivers. Like we found some old VHSs in the garage of like Nigel Mansell's season contending for the title in 86 and winning it in 92. So I think he was just a general sports fan, but no, he wasn't a motorsport obsessive. And no one in the family really was, but it's one of those pure fluke things that I scanned through and found it. And I've sometimes thought at a young age, if I'd found boxing instead, or, I liked that it was slightly different. Everyone in the UK loves football.
Right.
Everyone's just obsessed. And that's your mainstay. And I do as well. And I love most sports, but there was just something about Formula One that just felt elevated compared to everything else. And that's always been my favorite thing. So to get to work in it, it's a happy fluke.
It sure is. So 98, I assume that you defaulted to, cheering for the Brits, which means, I'm trying to put this together now, which is a little bizarre. Like, did you grow up a David Coulthard fan? Like, who was your guy in 98 when you first kind of fell in love with it?
Well, I glory hunted, so it was Mika Hakkinen.
Ah, okay.
But
all right.
then obviously you did, DC was contending, which does make it weird because obviously I'm standing next to him in the commentary box.
Yes.
It's very, very odd. And yeah, you'd cheer for DC was a contender for the title in 99, 2000, 2001. He was runner up. So yeah, it's really, really odd. I remember sitting in the grandstand cheering for DC in my first Grand Prix in 2002. So yeah, it is very weird when your childhood and your job merge into one sort of bizarre, like, and when he's having a coughing fit and rolling on the floor and like you've had to take him off air, you're like, I used to cheer from you from a grandstand. Strange. So yeah, it's a very, very odd one. It's an odd one.
I completely relate to that because I kind of found Formula One in the mid 90s. I'm Canadian. So who was my guy?
Yeah. Jacques Villeneuve on the show a lot.
And now he's on the show a lot. And it's so funny. Like every once in a while, you're just kind of standing there and like, I'll look over and be like, I used to pay $20 a month to be part of your fan club to get some envelope from Switzerland with a newsletter and some stickers. And I've never told him that, I don't think, because it seems mildly embarrassing now. But it is funny.
I feel like it should come up if you ever go out for dinner. It's like, well, I would pick up, but I sent you about.
I did fund, at least one nice dinner for you over the course of my fandom. But so I always found that the kind of previous, I don't know, there's no way to say this without it kind of being the annoying and sometimes controversial break in F1 fandom, but like the pre and post Drive to Survive, right? I always felt like pre-Drive to Survive, F1 fans were a lot more, at least a higher percentage were were team based. Like they cheered for Ferrari, they cheered for McLaren, they cheered for Williams, and less driver based. Now it seems a lot more fans hook onto a driver and they'll follow that driver around. But it sounds like you weren't as much of a team guy. You kind of picked your drivers.
No, I kind of like that it was less partisan than the other sports.
Right.
That I was used to. I like the fact that you could get variation, different people winning every week. And that it wasn't always, growing up, it was always Arsenal and Man United. And then it was Chelsea and Man United. And I like the fact it was a greater variation. You'd have drivers come and go.
It's
and I
no
like the fact
Ipswich,
that
though.
it used to be, no Ipswich Town, my beloved team, 2 good seasons every 20 years. It's all right, lads. You get it together in the second half of the year. It'll be fine. I like that it wasn't as partisan. And then obviously the more popular a sport gets and the broader the fan base gets, as you saw in 2021, it can suddenly get very, very partisan very, very quickly, which is fun. The intensity of it is fun, but I did like that it was slightly less amplified and, you didn't get all the baggage that came with it.
I mean, I'm not going to do the math, and I'm not going to ask you to do the math on how many Grand Prix you've called. But is there one that kind of stands out as your favorite?
Yeah, Silverstone 2021, and not because of what happened between Hamilton and Verstappen, but I'd always wanted to call the British Grand Prix on network television. That was what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do professionally. It's a sport I love as a kid. That race, it just felt like the most intense experience that I've had as a broadcaster. We'd had COVID and fans hadn't been back in the numbers that were there that day. Silverstone is always one of the greatest atmospheres of any sporting event on the planet. And then for Verstappen and Hamilton to put on that opening minute of the race, which was so aggressive, 2 of the best to ever do it, brawling. They weren't just racing cars, they're fighting with cars. And I wish that they got through Copse Corner. I wish that they'd just carried on because it was just a battle for the ages. But no, the crowd noise, if you want to do a race your entire life and you get to do it and you've told everyone from when you were 10 you want to be a Formula 1 commentator and you get to do it and that's your opening lap. I mean, my heart rate must have been 250. I've never known anything like it. It was so intense. And then obviously the rest of the race was unbelievable. Hamilton comes back through. I've got Mark Webber and David Coulthard next to me saying he should have had a stop-go penalty. He gets the time penalty, and just the heightened experience of wanting to do that forever and then getting a race of that intensity and quality it's top by a mile. And it was a great day.
Is there a different answer for just race that you've seen, and whether as a fan or working in some other capacity, is there any other Grand Prix that tops that?
I can tell you my favorite finish of any motor race ever. The most I've ever lost it watching any motor racing in my life is the Indy 500, where J.R. Hildebrand crashed at the final corner and Dan Weldon won. Yeah, I think I nearly went through the patio doors. I've never seen anything like that in my life, that it's a foregone conclusion, that it's a victory lap. And then the idea that you can lose it inside to the flag, that's the most exciting finish of any sporting event I've ever seen. And genuinely, like, I've always loved the 500, and to see that happen, and that was just unbelievable. It remains unbelievable to this day.
And that one, I remember that one so well because I had already crashed out of that race, and I was very begrudgingly forced to go up to my sponsor's suite at the time. And I was in a very intense battle with Hildebrand for Rookie of the Year honors, and he's about to come second in the race that I crashed out of, he's about to win the race that I crashed out of. And I remember being pressed up against the glass of the pit row suites, looking down at turn 4 to watch him come off the last corner. And then, when you're looking through glass, but like at that angle, everything you can't quite see clearly. I just see this puff of smoke and this mini explosion. I was like, wait, what was that? And then it all sort of came to be. My favorite part about that whole thing, though, is that Hildebrand just kept his foot planted with 2 wheels missing and still scraped. I mean, the start finish line it's a long way down that straight. That's 5/8 of a mile of a straight, and it's 3/4 of the way down there, and he just kept his foot pinned, and somehow the thing was still unbelievable. But yeah, that was That was as wild as it gets, I think, for the end of a sporting event. That said, wild finishes are kind of what we're set up for nicely this weekend in Abu Dhabi. Three in the fight, which, I mean, did you have three drivers in contention for the championship coming into the finale at, let's say, midway through this season?
No, I had a McLaren driver winning with about 4 to go. And then, I was, there was talk of paddle matches. There was talk of trips out to the sand dunes, and it was like, all right, well, that won't happen for Qatar. It might happen for Abu Dhabi. That won't happen for Abu Dhabi. Okay, we've got an epic championship. This doesn't happen very often, and for it to happen in a 24 race season just feels even more impossible. But I've been saying all year, to be honest, at the very start of the year, what I thought would happen before we saw the pace of the cars, I thought McLaren would split the difference and Max Verstappen would win the title. That was my season prediction. I thought they'd take wins off each other and Verstappen would win the title. That obviously should not have come to pass. They've had enough pace to seal the deal, sort this out, and yet we come here with the score 7-7-7 in terms of wins. But no, I didn't think we'd be anywhere near a title decider. Neither did Max. You see him talking about it and he's like, yep, well, I'm here. He's almost not apologetic, but the fact that he was able to give that answer last week where he's like, well, I'm here because of their errors, not because we have done the best job or we have the best car. Like, we've maximized what we've got, but there's a strange air. And last week after the result, there's just a bewildered air in the paddock, wasn't there? Because it was like, how have we got a title decider when they've had this advantage at the start of the year? But I'll take it. It's what all broadcasters want to do, is a winner takes all type of situation.
It's one of those things where, let's say post summer break or post Zandvoort, right? If you were to say to someone, okay, hey, look, I know Oscar's, got 34 over Lando, 104 over Max. I need you to script out a scenario that sees all three of these guys in the running in the last race. You'd be like, no, I can't. There's literally nothing that I could write that would be even mildly plausible on how this could happen. It's
and you wouldn't do technical disqualification and bizarro strategy, would you? You'd do them crashing into each other a couple of times.
Maybe a wet weather race in Brazil and whatever.
They've avoided crashing into each other every time apart from twice all season. The Austin one, I think, was just unlucky. I didn't get that narrative that Oscar was at fault there. And the Canada one, it happens. You're going to hit each other if you've got a competitive car for an entire... we got 30 races this year, 6 sprint and 24 Grand Prix. So that's going to happen at some point. But they've managed to avoid all of that, and still Verstappen has caught them. So literally unbelievable.
Do you have a sense of, and this is such a stupid question, I apologize, I'm even asking it, but just based on that comment, it made me want to ask the question. Do you have a deep feeling of who you think is the most deserving driver at this point?
No, I think they're all deserving. And I think this will be a narrative, especially if you get, and I really don't like this. If you win the title and you do the best job, it doesn't matter if you win by 100 points or 1 point. Like, if you're champion, you're champion. If you got the job done over, and I do think what has been underpriced in the narrative of this is that Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are trying to win their first title. Max Verstappen has been there and done that, and he was shaky on the grid in Abu Dhabi 2021, and got the poor start. It's a very short run down to the first turn. They're human beings. They've poured their entire life into this. Literally, their entire lives have been built around the moment that they're now facing. Of course, it's going to be shakier for Lando and Oscar trying to claim that first one. So I think whoever gets it, it is as simple as that. Whoever gets it. Everyone signs up to motor racing. In Formula One, someone's going to have a quicker car. All right? There's going to be an unfair advantage baked in. If Verstappen gets it, it's one of the all-time great Formula One titles. It's right up there. I mean, it's right up there with the audacity of winning that one. From as far back as he has done. But in terms of deserving, no, Lando would deserve to have taken the hits early on, come back, weathered the storm, figured out the car, sorted out the field behind the wheel and done it. Oscar to go in there to steal Lando's start, to win in your third season in a team that was geared for a Lando Norris championship would be an unbelievable achievement. So, yeah, there is, for me, there's no most deserving or least deserving, but yeah, all three of them have done well to get to this point. But the fact that Max is still in the conversation is genuinely bonkers.
And I think this is actually another thing that's been a little bit undersold, right? Because we're talking about the comeback, right? If he were to complete it, it would be the greatest comeback in terms of the biggest margin. And I mean, just objectively the greatest comeback. And people are focusing on that and almost ignoring the historical element of the only driver in history to win 5 in a row.
Yeah. Well, you've got Michael Schumacher was able to do that with Ferrari.
Oh, sorry.
And then but then you're thinking that's dynasty stuff. It's just total domination. It's just total domination, but with a car that in the last 2 seasons has not been the front runner every week.
Right.
Schumacher won his first title in 2000 in a very close battle with Mika Häkkinen. And then 2001, he got it done very early. 2002, he basically won it by the middle of the year. I think he won the title in July. So that's how competitive that season was. 2003, very, very tight, but he got the job done effectively with 2 races to go, only needed a point at the end. 2004, won it in Spa. So it's the August time. So the dominance there was ridiculous, and there were 2 close championships. Verstappen's had a car that really wasn't capable of winning a large part of the back end of last year, and a team in turmoil, which was contributing to it. And then the first half of this year, same nonsense. They just couldn't figure out how to get a tune out of that car. So to win 2 titles potentially when the car, it wasn't even the top Red Bull driver in Budapest, that would be downright sensational to do it. And I would say, for my money, even more impressive than Schumacher's 5 in a row.
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate. You said earlier, you kind of mentioned that it's tough to, it's even more surprising to have this scenario in a 24 race season, right? The longer the season, the higher the odds that it gets wrapped up before the last race.
Yeah.
Do we have too many races in your opinion for that exact reason? If for nothing else, and I know there's sometimes even talk about adding even more, and more sprint races, which again is just putting more points on the board, which makes it that much more likely it gets locked up earlier. Is that potentially directionally incorrect for the sport?
I think the thing is, it's incredibly popular, right? So everyone wants to watch it as much as possible, and no one wants to wander in and go, actually, I've decided that we're going to make less money this year, chaps. So it's a tough sell, isn't it, when the sport's in a boom time to restrict it. I do think it's running roughly close to capacity, especially if you consider the off season. If you consider that you've got 3 tests next year, plus 24 Grand Prix, plus 6 races, that is a lot of the year and a lot of travel for everyone. So it's a unbelievable championship to be a part of and to be able to work on, but it's approaching the ceiling. And to be fair, I think they've understood that. If you were drawing it up from scratch, maybe you'd go in a slightly different direction. But I think it's just about where it should be at the moment.
When you have a season like this, in comparison to, say, a season like 2023, where one team dominated everything, one driver won 80-something% of the races, whatever it was. How good is it for the sport to have these years? And kind of on the flip side, is it detrimental when you have a year or a couple of years of just unbridled dominance?
I think some dominance can be quite good. I mean, history shows us when you see all the red merchandise in the grandstands that people love Ferrari because they're the most successful team. Doesn't matter where we go, doesn't matter what race we go to, you're always seeing red in the grandstands. So people love a victory story, but 2023, that's too extreme. You can't have a sporting competition where you know the winner before you start. And the joy of the last couple of years has been the outright best driver has been in a car which hasn't been the best car. And Formula One is at its absolute best where you put the leading driver at the time in a car that is not quite as competitive as the others. Schumacher versus the Williams guys in the 90s is peak Formula One. It's just utterly joyous to see. Can he scrap his way there? And the title finales that we had in those years were unbelievable. Formula One's never been as competitive, but they're almost too close now, aren't they? In that no one can get past anyone.
Right.
Like the drivers are almost resigned in Qatar to not being able to overtake. So you definitely want a mixture of the two. If you line them up how they qualify, some years you're just going to get a dominant champion. That's just the nature of motor racing and always will be. But the years like we've had where it's ultra competitive, you've got 3 drivers in the mix. Yeah, it's such and unexpectedly, this could have been, and if a McLaren driver does not win the title, they will rue this. This could have been a 14, 15, 16 race winning season for one of them. And to have that machinery available to you and to be stuck in a 3-way title fight is a really tough one. So, but for us, brilliant. There's always chat about biased broadcasting. I'll tell you what we're biased towards it being exciting and good.
Amen. 2 quick things to finish off. If Max does win it, is it going to be remembered as the greatest comeback in F1, or is it going to be remembered as the greatest fumble from McLaren?
A combination of the two. Has to be. Absolutely has to be a combination of the two. It would be the greatest comeback of any point system in Formula One history. It would also just be the audacity of it would be unbelievable. To come from 104 points back when McLaren have been competitive virtually everywhere. Yeah, that would be we'd be talking about that forever. That would be the definition of a doing a Verstappen would be a byword in sports journalism for coming from miles back. So yeah,
but equally, would it
special
be
thing to see?
Would doing a McLaren be drop a massive fumble, a massive drop?
Yeah, I mean, I used to love great sports writing growing up, and great I'd love reading the great sports journalists in the UK papers, and I loved doing that. And as a result of doing that, as a kid, and then into my university era, there's a reference in sport to a horse that fell in the Grand National Horse Race, in sight of winning the Grand National Horse Race. And the byword for throwing it away when it seemed to be impossible to lose is Devon Lock. That's the name of the horse that was on the brink of winning the Grand National and then just slipped and fell. And a lot of people lost a lot of money, which is why I imagine it's still in that's the territory they would find themselves in.
Right.
If they win, you can chuck they don't deserve it, they nearly threw it away. Chuck that narrative in the bin. If you win the title, you win the title. Doesn't matter if you win by 1 point or 100 points. Their methodology, how they've gone racing, is validated or questioned by delivering the championship. And if they get it done, who cares how they got there?
Right.
They got it done.
Right.
But if they fumble it, as you know, that will be it will be a byword. It will be a byword for throwing it away. So the stakes are quite high, mate. Higher than I'd want them to be if I was a McLaren driver. It's why we love it. But everyone in that team must be feeling it in the last week.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, final thing. This is a different scenario than, Max wrapping it up in Spa in August or, in Austin with 4 to go, 5 to go, whatever. You've got 3 guys that can win it. It's going to be an exciting finish no matter what. You have this unbelievable, well-earned reputation for your last lap calls in significant moments. How much thought and kind of prep goes into having something meaningful and impactful to say in those final few corners of whichever of the 3 drivers is going to be taking the championship on Sunday?
A bit goes in for a last race decider. A bit of thought goes in to what element of their story do you want to tell? And then you just have bullet points in your notes like you would do normally. And so there'll be like 3 or 4 bullet points of, what number world champion they would be. I think it's 35 if we get a new one. The 104 points. Yeah, we can remember 104 points. So we're just yakking on a Wednesday. But when, if the World Championship order has changed with a lap to go and everyone has been shouting out of excitement and you can hear the crowd out of the window and you've got your producer talking to you, it's very important to have 104 points written down because things can fall out of your head in those key moments. So usually a lot of the things, it would just be a theme. It would be one word, mention this, second word, mention this, and then the numbers. The numbers, I always write down the numbers so you don't get, so you're not thinking, was it 103, 104? So yeah, or I always write down the numbers that I might have to use. So Lando Norris would be the 11th British world champion. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris would be the 35th world champion in sports history. So that'll be on the page. And then it's got to fit the moment.
Right.
So there were lots of things that I wanted to say in 2021 about Lewis Hamilton, or I had thought about maybe I'll hit that, or maybe I'll hit that element. All goes out the window. If it doesn't fit the moment,
right,
you can't use the bullet points. You've got to commentate on what is happening in front of you. Because if you're trying to shoehorn in elements of someone's career instead of reflecting the moment, and I think I blurted out, "You will never hear the end of this," which turned out to be fairly accurate. So, whereas you're trying to do something about Max Verstappen's entire life story, that did not fit what we had seen in front of us. So it's just about being prepared in the same way that you would normally do your notes for the race. It's about being prepared. And I always think with those last laps, obviously the example that gets brought up all the time is the Charles Leclerc last lap. The reason that I did that story on the last lap, the reason that I did it is that we go out to a hugely broad audience and we have fans who know the story inside out. But we also have fans that have found us through Drive to Survive, or maybe they've left Channel 4 on after another program and they're excited to watch the Monaco Grand Prix. And I didn't want anyone to think, rich kid from Monaco wins the Monaco Grand Prix, who cares?
Right.
And so the reason behind that was like, oh, you actually should care about this because this guy's been through a lot and this is why he's going to lose his mind when he crosses the line. So there's always the reasons behind if you maybe tell a slightly longer story compared to a shorter story. That's done with the audience and making a point in mind. But no, I'm sure yesterday on the production call, you said something along the lines of, and I won't mention the exact scenario, but we were talking about scenarios of what could happen. You can go, well, if that happens, that will be the last lap. And I nearly put my head on the desk and I was like, not the last lap, not the last lap in Abu Dhabi. We can't go back. We can't go back there. I'm not sure I can physically do it. So yeah, as long as the drama happens,
be ready.
3/4 of the way through, I am fully on board.
Amazing. Well, mate, look, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm so thrilled I get to work alongside you. I've got so much respect for how you approach what you do. I love watching you work. I love listening to you work, and I'm excited for you to get the chance to call this one and can't wait to hear it. So thanks for coming on. Have a great time this weekend. I will see you at the track.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.
Hey, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this chat with Alex Jacques. Just a reminder, if you want to check out his book, it's called Grid to Glory. It is for sale on Amazon, so go check it out.